The following episode of Dad vs. Daughter was made possible by a contribution from Simon. Ethnos is an area control game from Simon. It plays 2 to 6 players and it plays fairly fast. Now, the game has 12 tribes, but during each game, you're only going to use a max of 6. So your gaming experience is going to be different every time. So let me give you an overview on how to play the game, and then we're going to find out what Dad's lunch group thinks. The game plays up to 6 players, but I've got it set up for 4. The first thing we do is we shuffle up all of these glory tokens, and then we will assign 3 to each area and 1 for each of the ages. Now, when you place the tokens out, you will always place from lowest to highest. So you can see we have in the first and second we have 2s, and the third we have an 8. Here we go 0, 6, 10, 4, 8, 10, and so on. So after we've done that, then what we do is we pick 6 tribes that we want to play with in our game. There are 12 tribes of Ethnos, so you're going to pick 6 and 6 other ones will go in the box. Now, mainly what we've done is we've tried to kind of get a balance of the characters, so we've just kind of picked who we wanted to include in the game. But the rules will tell you that you can take these cards, and you'll notice that these have different backs from the rest of them. You can take all 12 of these cards, which represent 1 for each tribe, shuffle them up, and then reveal 6. And then those are the 6 tribes that you will use in the game. The other 6 will go in the box. Depending on which tribes you use, you may have additional boards. So if you play with the orcs, each player will get 1 of these orc boards. And you'll notice that you get varying points based on the number that you have on here. If you play with the merfolk, you will use this board, and it will have various scoring, and you'll place your markers along that track. If you play with the giants, depending on the number of players, this is 2 to 3, this one is 4 to 6, then you'll get points if you have the largest giant band by the end of the age, and you'll see you have various points for each one of those. And the orc board and the merfolk board will you don't change that throughout the course of the game. However, at the end of each age, the giant token basically will return, and that can be taken by someone new. You also have the troll tokens, and those are going to be worth points depending on which ones you get. So if you play the first band, you're going to get 6, play the second band 5, and so forth. And then at the end of the age, those will all go back as well. So what you're going to be doing is, let's just say that we chose these 6 at the top here. So all the rest of these will go back in the box. So now that we've got our 6 tribes selected, we're going to take all these and we're going to shuffle them together. So once we've shuffled this deck together, each player will get 1 card to start, and then we will put twice the number of cards that we have players. So say in a 4-player game, we would actually put 8 cards in our display across here. So we have our 8 cards here in our display. Then what we do is we take the deck and we split it roughly in half, so of equal size. So let's just say that that's good. We'll take that half and we'll put that there. Then we have 3 dragon cards. Now we're going to shuffle those into this deck, and that is going to represent the bottom part of the deck. Okay, so then once the dragons are shuffled, we take that top part, we put it on top, and now we have our draw deck. Now, as we go through the game, we are going to be either taking a card off of the top on our turn, or we can choose one from the display. So let's just say that I decided to choose Giant as my card. That will go in my hand. Play goes to the next player. We don't refill this. Now, once we have enough of cards in our hand that we want to play a band down, so a band can be of either the same tribe or the same color. So you'll notice that like the giants here, here's a blue giant and a red giant. I do not see a jolly green giant. And I already had a gray giant here. So let's just say over the course of a couple turns that I acquired these 3 giants. Okay? And I decided that I wanted to play this as a band. I would decide which one of these I wanted to be the leader of my band. Choosing the leader is important because that's where you are going to place one of your control tokens on the board. So let's say I decided that I wanted to go for, I see Stratton is worth the most points. So I'm going to play my band like so in front of me to show that blue is the leader of my band. I will then take one of my control tokens and I will place it on that area. Now to place another token there, I have to have a band greater than the number of tokens I have. So I could play a 1 character band, but it's not going to be worth any points. The size of your band will give you points the larger the band that you have. On the edge of the board here, it will show you a band of 1 gives you 0, 2 gives you 1, 3 gives you 3, 4 is 6, 5 is 10, and 6 will get you 15 points. So you want to try to get a bigger band if possible. But in this case, I had 3 giants, so I'm going to get 3 points. So I will move my guy on the track there and show that I have my 3 points. Also, since I was the first player to place the giants band down, I will get the giant token. And you'll see this is kind of a giant token. So I'll have that in front of me until someone plays a bigger band than I have, which my band size is 3. If they play a 4, they will take this. If I play another band of giants that is 4, then I can retain this. Now, after I've played my band down, I look and actually I have to play any other cards that I had in my hand back to the display. So let's just say that I had these 3 cards in my hand. Then those will all go back out here, and that's how this gets replenished. Anytime you play a band, any cards that you have left in your hand, you'll play back to display for everybody else to basically pull from. Now, I mentioned about the dragon cards. So when the first dragon comes up, no big deal. Second dragon comes up, and now we're getting a little concerned because once that third and final dragon appears, the round ends immediately. There's no more turns. Nobody will do anything. So you really want to try to make sure that you get your bands down, because any cards that you have in your hand are discarded and you only score based on the bands that you have. So technically, I wouldn't actually score this until the end of the round. So at the end of the age, we're going to score by majority for all 6 of the regions. So in the first age, or at the end of the first age, if you have the majority here, you're going to score 2 points. At the end of the second age, if you have the majority here, you're going to score 2 points, because that's what we have here in the second age. And whoever has the next most will score for what's listed in the first age. And then in the third age here, whoever has the majority, they'll score 8 points. The next would score 2, and then the third would score 2 there. In this case, it would be 6, 6, and 4, 10, 6, and 0, so on. At the end of the age, after we've done all of our scoring, we'll take any of the cards we had in our bands. We will then take all the cards in the display, and we'll shuffle those up. Each player will be dealt a new card, and like before, we will divide the deck with whatever is left over after we put our cards out in the display. We'll place 3 dragons in that bottom part, and we will begin a new age. So when that third dragon comes out during the third age, that is the end. We do our final scoring and determine who is the winner. So now that I've given you a high-level overview on how to play the game, let's meet all 12 tribes and see what their special abilities allow you to do. The centaurs are going to allow you to play another band from your hand before you actually discard cards. So you might have a chance to play 2 or 3 bands and be able to play that many control markers on the board. Dwarves have an end of age scoring, so what they're going to do is when you have a band of dwarves, then they are going to allow you to score as if you had 1 more in your band. So if you had 3 dwarves down, you would actually be able to score as if you had 4. When you play a band of elves, based on the size of the band you play, that's going to be the number of cards you're going to be able to retain in your hand instead of discarding them back to display. So for instance, if I had a band of 4 elves, then I would be able to keep 4 cards in my hand. So if I play a band of giants, if I have the largest band of giants, then I will get the giant token and I will score 2 points. Then if I have this at the end of the age, then I'll score the points for that age. Now, if I play another larger band, then I will be able to keep this and I'll score another 2 points. The halflings actually don't really have a power per se because they're not going to allow you to do anything. However, the deck of halfling, or the number of halfling cards, is doubled, so they're easier to collect. So you're going to be probably having larger size bands of the halflings, and that's going to allow you to score more glory points. If you play a band of merfolk with as the leader of your band, then what you're going to do is you are going to be able to move your marker on the merfolk board that many spaces. So if I played a tribe of 3 merfolk, or a band of 3 merfolk, then I can advance up to 3 spaces. And when I get to these spots, so you can see 3, 7, 12, and 18, will allow me to put an extra control marker down on the board. And then if you are the highest position at the end of the age, you will score 1, 2, and 4 points respectively at the end of those ages. If you have a Minotaur as the leader of your band, then you need 1 less in order to place a control marker. So let's say that I had 3 control markers in the Pelagon district and I played a band of Minotaurs to the Pelagon, then I would only need 3 instead of the normal 4. So if you have an orc as the leader of your band, you're going to be using the orc board, and you will place one of your control markers on the color that matches the region on the main board. Now you can remove those, and the number that you remove, you'll score that many points. So if I removed 1, then I would get 1 point. If I had all 6 of them filled and I removed them, that would be worth 20. Now you don't have to remove these between the ages. You can leave them there and let them accumulate so you can try to get up to the 6, because it's probably going to take you all game in order to do that. But you're probably going to be maybe around the 2 or 3 range, so you may want to remove 3 in order to get 6 points. Now the skeletons, they're kind of an odd group. They can never be the leaders of the band, not even if they're the Grateful Dead. But what you'll do is you'll add these to your band in order to increase their size so that you can play those control markers to the board. However, before you score the glory points at the end, then at the end of the age, you'll actually remove the skeletons and you'll only score based on the other items or the other tribes that you have in that band. Now the winged folk, it doesn't matter where or what color you are using, because you can place them in any of the regions on the board. You still have to follow the normal rules as far as, if you've already have one of your control markers there, then your party must still be, or your band must still be larger than what you have there. But this is a way that you can kind of get into the regions where maybe you don't have the cards to get there to begin with. And finally, we have the wizards. Now, if you play a wizard as the leader of a band, when you get rid of the remaining cards and you put those on the display, whatever size of band you just played, you're going to be able to draw that many cards off the deck. You can't take any cards from the display, but say if I play a band of 3 wizards, then I would draw the top 3 cards off of the deck. Now, as I've talked about the bands can be composed 2 different ways. You can either compose them of all the same tribe, and doesn't matter what colors. So you can see I have here a band of 5 of the centaurs, and choosing the leader, I only care about whichever one I want to put that control marker in. So if I want to place in blue, then I make blue the leader of my band. If I want to place a control marker in green, then I make green the leader of my band. Now, I also can put my tribe together based on the region. So if I had all green cards, then they could be made up of all of these, and this could be one big band. Then, based on who I choose as my leader, that's the ability that I would get. So if I want the centaur's leader, I make the centaur the leader of the band. If I want the elf ability, I choose the elf as the leader, or if I want the dwarf, I make the dwarf leader. So those are the two ways that you can create the bands, and how you choose where the control markers are going to go, or where the or whose special powers you're going to use. Okay, so let's get to what Dad's lunch group thinks of Ethnos. This has been a very popular game with our group, mainly because even with 6 players, we've been able to get this in over our lunchtime without any problem whatsoever. It plays super fast. Everybody takes their turns very quickly. You're drawing a card, or you're taking a card from the display, and there's not really any AP issues to slow you down. The game's only played over 3 ages, so that plays very fast. It's been a hit. There is one negative. Well, actually, there's 2 negatives that everybody has said, and this kind of goes along with my review as well. For one, the board is a little on the smaller side. It might have been nicer to have a larger board, and maybe a little bit better art. The artwork on the board is very plain. Doesn't take away from the playability. That's just kind of a minor thing. But probably the biggest complaint is these control markers. Now, while these look kind of neat, and they're almost like Gallifreyan art from Doctor Who, they are not easy to grab a hold of. In fact, when you put them on the board like this, trying to move them around, trying to pick them up, is not really the easiest. So what our group has started doing is placing them down like this and stacking them that way, because that makes them easier to pick up. But everyone loves the gameplay. The replayability with the 12 different tribes, and you're only using 6, having the additional boards. And that is one of the things when we play, we do try to make sure that we're probably only playing with one of the extra boards. That kind of, you can play with multiple ones. There's nothing in the rules that say you can't. I love the replayability. I like the fact that it's fast. I like that you have the different powers of the different tribes. So that gives every game a very unique feel. Nothing feels very samey at all. So I've kind of been hit or miss on how I've played the game, and that really comes down to the luck of the draw. So some people might not like the randomness of that, because it's things are kind of out of their control. But I do like that. You've got so many cards that you're going to have down in the display. And that's kind of where the strategy comes in. When do you play that band? How many cards do you get? Because you can only have 10 cards in your hand at a time as a max. If you have 10 cards, then you have to actually play a band down. But, that becomes very strategic in what cards you are throwing back out there. Keeping an eye on what the other players are taking, so you don't give them extra cards. The whole thing with the dragon coming out, towards the end, like I said, when that first dragon comes out, nobody really cares. Second dragon comes out, people start making plans to make sure they get all their tribes down before that third dragon appears. So really like the gameplay, really like the speed, really like the ease of the game. It's been very easy to teach new players that have come in. The fact that it goes up to 6 players has been really good, because then we don't have to break into 2 groups and have 2 different games going. So that's been really nice. So big thumbs up for Ethnos from me. This is easily in my top 5 games of the year that I've played. I think it just came out at Origins, or maybe right around there. But like I said, it's been a big hit with my group. We've mainly only played this at lunch because the game does play so fast. I don't know that I would call this a filler. It's a little deeper than a filler, but the fact that you can get this played easily in under an hour with 6 players puts it kind of in that sweet spot of games. So, like I said, big thumbs up for me. That is Ethnos, and we will catch you guys next time. If you would like to support us, you can visit patreon.com/dadvdaughter.
Like and follow us on Facebook to stay current on our show schedule, sneak peeks at future shows, and to interact with us.